truly exciting year at IBC Bank. Having challenged ourselves to become the community bank of choice that dominates and delivers on the expectation of leadership. And boy, have we delivered.
IBC Bank offers free checking accounts, is open 7 days a week, even on Sunday. With 29 convenient locations throughout Hidalgo County and convenient hours of service, IBC Bank does more for you. IBC Bank takes pride in organizing events that bring together our community leadership. Outings such as Empresarios and RJV Women with Purpose provide a vital opportunity for business owners and community leaders to unite. Together, we explore and educate the public and business community on events and changes that affect our economy. United we stand, and IBC Bank stands with you to help ensure the continued growth and prosperity of our local communities.
Hello, my name is Mitchell Furman. I'm a reporter covering the city of McAllen for The Monitor. Welcome to The Monitor Debates, sponsored by IBC Bank. The first installment of The Monitor Debates features the race for McAllen City Commission District 4, which represents Southwest McAllen. For the first time in 18 years, there will be a new city commissioner representing District 4. Running to replace retiring Commissioner Aida Ramirez is Joe Califa, a retired city planner, and Tania Ramirez, an attorney. Both candidates were invited, but only Mr. Califa showed up today. Mr. Califa, thank you for joining us. Since it's just you and I, you'll have 1 minute for opening remarks, followed by a bunch of questions, as well as some submitted by readers, and at the end you'll have 1 minute for closing remarks. So first up, your opening remarks.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. My name is Joe Califa, and I've lived for 20 years at 2515 South 43rd Street in McAllen. I'm running for City Commission because this is the next step in serving McAllen, as I have for the last 40 years. I was asked to serve by someone who had filed to run but unfortunately had to withdraw due to a family medical issue. He and I were both concerned that my opponent was unqualified and inexperienced and would not be an effective representative for the good people of District 4. I feel that District 4 has been neglected for many years. There have been no new road projects, no drainage improvements, no hike and bike trails, very little commercial development to serve the neighborhoods such as La Balboa, and it's time that District 4 receives more opportunities for economic development and updates in infrastructure such as sidewalks and lighting in neighborhoods that have been paying property taxes for over 50 years. I have the qualifications, the experience, the time and dedication to devote to the city of McAllen, and most importantly, the trust of the District 4 deserves in its next city commissioner.
So Commissioner Aida Ramirez has represented Southwest McAllen for the last 18 years. What has she done well and what has she not done well?
I would like to talk about the future and improvements that we would like to do in District 4. District 4 has a large population, especially on the south side in La Balboa area. And over the past 40 years, there has been very little economic development. 23rd Street is a rural section roadway with roadside ditches that you can't really find in any other urban areas in the valley because nothing has been done there in the last 40 years. There are issues in District 4 such as basic services to the public, to the community. For instance, when I go to the grocery store, my sales tax, and I go every week like I think most people do, and all the people in the southern part of the district, they generally will go to the H-E-B admission or the junior supermarket in Hidalgo. So all those sales taxes are going to the city of Mission and to Hidalgo. And so economic development is something that I think we need to focus on in Southwest McAllen, and infrastructure improvements, such as I mentioned, 23rd Street. And I'm looking to the future to make sure that we can devote our resources, and I can work with other city commissioners to see that those resources that we need in South McAllen are provided by the city commission.
And both you and your opponent have mentioned the issue of there not being a grocery store in Southwest McAllen. What are your ideas for making that happen?
Well, I'd like to, you know, there's been many projects where the city has helped businesses develop in McAllen, and I think this is an opportunity for us to look at that possibility. I don't have specific answers. I don't have a specific vendor or business that we need to develop to, but when we do make improvements to 23rd Street, which I expect will happen, I think is the opportunity for us to extend utilities so that we can develop areas along 23rd Street that are vacant and available for development. And so that's what I'm going to be looking at is the possibility of using monies of the city to extend utilities, as have been done with other projects in other parts of McAllen and other districts.
And so the city's handling of the Immigrant Respite Center and immigration at large has become perhaps the most polarizing issue in the city. Where do you stand on the Respite Center and immigration in McAllen?
I'm a proud member of the Sacred Heart Church in downtown McAllen, which provided a location for the Respite Center for, I believe, a couple of years in cooperation with the city of McAllen. I think it's vital to provide the basic human needs to legal immigrants that are crossing the border and that are presenting themselves to the federal government to begin the immigration process. They have sponsors in other parts of the country, but they have temporary needs that they are in McAllen for a day or two. These are families, and these are people that will become part of our immigration process and hopefully good members of our citizenry. It's a basic human need that I believe the city needs to help, and the help that we're providing is also to help other social service agencies from all over the country that are sending people and money and goods that these people can use while they're here on a temporary basis. And I support what the city has done, and I think it's important that we make sure and provide for a place where they can do it for as long as this human crisis exists. So I'm in support of that, and I know I have heard from the people of District 4 that they are in support of it as well. And so I would like to make that happen for the city of McAllen.
The citizens of District 4 are in support of the city assisting?
Yes. Yes.
And so in February, city commissioners voted to remove Catholic Charities from their current respite center on Hackberry and 2nd Street. If you were on the commission in February, how would you have voted?
You know, there's a lot of things that are involved. Listening to the neighborhood, listening to the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as the Planning and Zoning Department. It was a matter of land use. I think the facility was a convalescent center before. In fact, my grandfather was there for many years. It was an opportunity for Catholic Charities to use a building that was available and not being used. And apparently there were issues with the neighborhood. I am not familiar with all the circumstances or complaints that the neighborhood had. But also, you know, the votes by the city commission, many votes or a few votes were to not approve the location, but I know those commissioners planners are in favor of providing assistance. So it is a confusing issue, and I think it's up to the city of McAllen to do what it can to provide an area that allows these legal immigrants to have a place to be and not on the streets of McAllen, where they could be interacting with members of the or residents of McAllen or citizens of McAllen, and so I can't tell you exactly because I don't know all the details, and it's a very complicated issue, but I can tell you that I'm in support of agencies that are trying to provide for basic human needs for these immigrants.
So McAllen has identified dozens of projects totaling nearly $50 million to address drainage issues throughout the city. But considering the region's vulnerability, as we saw with some of the flooding last June, and the city continuing to grow, what, if you were elected, would you bring to the table to address the major drainage issues in the city?
Well, I'm a retired city planner, and I think planning is key. The city of McAllen has an engineering department, and they should be going through evaluations on improvements every year to our drainage system, not just infrastructure, but operating procedures as well. I think everything needs to be coordinated with other agencies such as IBWC and the county and adjacent cities. I think that's where you'll find an issue is with operations and coordinating with other agencies. But we should have capital improvement projects to improve drainage based on how the city is developing. And that's why planning is a key, is to know where the development is and to ensure that new development is providing their drainage and what the impact is on the city's existing drainage system.
So is that what you would suggest, kind of more collaboration with other agencies in the area?
Well, that does not cost a lot. I think that needs to be done. There needs to be an evaluation on how we handle that. But we also need to have I would hope, an annual capital improvement program to continue to develop drainage infrastructure in areas that the city is growing, or in areas where something has changed that puts the residents and their property at risk.
And you mentioned your background as a city planner and it's in McAllen and other places. McAllen has emphasized improving the north and south corridors in the city, including the extension of Bicentennial all the way to 107. Mayor Darling has said the city needs to focus on east-west corridors now. What ideas do you have for improving east-west corridors?
Well, certainly we have much fewer east-west corridors than we have north and south corridors. In many cases, what it is going to require is just expansion programs that would require additional right-of-way to be acquired and to increase capacity for east-west traffic. Nolana carries a lot of traffic, but Nolana also it carries so much traffic that we do have many traffic accidents on Nolana. It's one of our worst intersectional, Nolana and 10th, as well as Trenton and 10th. So we need to do some innovative things where the traffic is now, but we would relieve a lot of that pressure at Nolana and Trenton if we were to provide more east and west arterials. Wisconsin, I think, is about to be completed from McCall, from Jackson in the city of McAllen on the east side through to at least 23rd Street, or and perhaps beyond, I believe, to 29th Street, in fact. That's very difficult to do, those east-west projects with the existing development that there is, but traffic is only getting worse, and it's because of the lack of capacity on these east-west roadways, and we cannot depend simply on Nolana and Trenton Road to carry that capacity. Over on the north side, where we're talking north of Nolana, I think we're providing for those needs, but between Nolana and Business 83, I think we can provide some improvements for east-west traffic.
And you mentioned innovative ideas. What are a couple that you've?
I think we really need to look at double left turns, because a lot of our traffic issues are stacking on left turns, coming from Trenton to 10th or 10th to Trenton, or same thing with Nolana. It can be done. We see it in other cities. I've been on the Traffic Commission a couple of times. I'm currently serving on the Traffic Commission, so there are some other things that we can do to help traffic and help the traveling public, such as roundabouts. We had a pilot program in District 4 that was very successful, but the City Commission elected not to. It was done as a temporary installation, but the City Commission elected not to fund a permanent installation, so it was removed. But that pilot program was good, and I think there are other areas in the city where we can do the similar projects, such as Wisconsin and 2nd Street. We're looking at doing that there.
Or roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, that carries a lot of traffic, and if we can avoid having to put in signals, signals are very expensive, and they cause delay for residents. Roundabouts, the majority of time when you approach a roundabout, you do not have to stop, because it creates a one-way system. So I think that is innovative. We're also removing a number of old traffic signals in areas of the city that we may not need them anymore. That has caused some issues. But we are trying to do that, and many of them are working out. Some of them we are still receiving complaints, and we may go back to reinstall those signals. The other thing that I think is very important for traffic is the new combination of the MPOs in the valley, McAllen MPO, the Harlingen MPO, and the Brownsville MPO, to create one large valley metropolitan planning organization. I've served on the Technical Advisory Committee for the MPO and represented cities in the county on those boards. And there is no question that with the new MPO, the larger MPO, we will have access to much more funds, many more funds that will be available from the Highway Department. And we need to be in the forefront to develop projects to use those additional funds for more capacity.
And during all your years as a city planner, what projects can you point to that kind of illustrate your experience?
Well, one of the last part of my career, and I'm retired now, I no longer work, but I spent the last 10 years or so as a right-of-way agent. So I would purchase right-of-way from property owners when we needed to expand a roadway for capacity, and larger roadway, make improvements. So there are a number of projects that I've worked on, including the railroad project that's under construction now. A number of projects in Mission, including Inspiration Road and the US 83 Expressway extended bridge across Inspiration Road and Business 83, which was the last section of the US 83 Expressway that could be widened to 3 lanes. So now we have 3 lanes, through lanes from Palmview all the way through Brownsville. So that was the last section of Expressway 83 that needed to be widened. And so I worked on the project as well. I've worked on projects for the county, such as Dicker Road, which is not quite under construction yet. And and a few others. So I take great pride in driving down those roads and knowing that I had something to do with those improvements, and I know the property owners appreciate it as well.
And you hinted at incentives a little bit earlier. While providing incentives to prospective businesses is kind of considered a bit of an aggressive economic development strategy, it's also, received a little bit of criticism in McAllen and other surrounding cities. Some people feel McAllen could find better use for these funds. Others think it's fine. Where do you stand on incentives?
I think incentives are a tool. We can decide whether to use that tool or not. I think it's an important tool, but I really feel that either the business needs to be a unique business that will have benefits to the city of McAllen, or the area that's to be developed has issues related to utilities or significant hardships in developing the property. But businesses that are just competing with other businesses on property that is just market property that for whatever reason that the developer or the business doesn't want to compete and ask for incentives, I think that is wrong. If the business is unique or if the property that's being developed has issues, I think that's how incentives should properly be used. And as I said, it's a tool, and I think we have to be wise on how we use that tool.
And the city just kind of decides, it's kind of a per project basis essentially. Should there be some sort of outline as to how how the city commission decides on issuing incentives?
Well, I guess there could be a model, but I think the responsibility is on the city commission ultimately, and that is why the citizens have to be careful who they elect to serve on the city commission. Every city commissioner votes on every incentive project one way or the other, and I feel the responsibility is the city commissioners, and if they are experienced and qualified to make these decisions, then I think it'll work right. If you have special interests that are impacting how a city commissioner votes on these incentives, you're going to have problems. At this point, I have not served on the city commission, but I would hope to make a difference in it so that that those incentive projects are looked at adequately, but it is up to the city commission.
Would you support incentives for bringing a grocery store to Southwest McAllen?
Not strictly a grocery store, because there's no impediment to, or there's nothing unique about a grocery store, but I think the fact that so many people in South McAllen buy groceries where their sales tax goes to other cities, that's a significant problem in my opinion. And as I said, if there are areas in South McAllen that could develop to have a grocery store, a full service grocery store that has infrastructure needs that is difficult because of where it's located or because how far existing utilities are, or because of drainage structures that are not adequate, or roadways that need to be with utilities that need to be relocated. Those are the kinds of things that are keeping new development from occurring in District 4. And I'm not just talking about a lack of services grocery store, but 2 o'clock in the morning you need to go get some medicine at a full service pharmacy. You can't go anywhere in District 4 for that purpose. Again, you're going to Mission, or you're going to Hidalgo, or you're going at least out of the district to a CVS or a Walgreens that's open 24 hours. And I don't think any place else in the city of McAllen, any other district in the city of McAllen, has to go through that.
So, I mean, they're not unique, you know, grocery store and a full-service pharmacy they're not unique, but the absence of them are, right?
I agree, and I think that one of the issues is what property is developable and the provisions of utilities to that property. You know, we've got to find a way to make it happen so that the people of District 4 has the same services that other districts have in McAllen.
Yeah. And when you're talking to voters, what are the issues they're most interested in talking to you about?
You know, I don't think the voters have a lot of complaints. Certainly we did have a lot of complaints for those people who were impacted by the storms last June, and there is no reason that homes in McAllen should have water in them. It's totally unacceptable. I'm sure there are answers to how it happened or why it happened, but I know that we can make improvements so that it doesn't happen again. One of the basic questions that I get, or not one of the basic, the most frequently asked question that I have when I'm talking to my community is the question about my opponent and how my opponent can run in the City of McAllen election when she voted in the City of Mission elections in November. And I really do not have an answer for that question. I submitted a candidate's application, and there's a question that's asked, how long if you've lived in the district. I've lived in the district for 20 years. She claims to have lived in the district for the last 2 years, or 22 months to be precise. She filed the application a couple of months ago. And that's the number one question that I get asked. How does the city allow somebody who showed up and submitted her application to the city secretary and the city administration, and when asked to show her identification, presented a Texas driver's license that has an address in Mission for a home that she purchased last year, and the city of McAllen accepted it. So those are issues that I imagine may be impacted why she's not here today. You know, we need to have city commissioners that are prepared to face the scrutiny of the public and be available to the public to answer these questions. She claimed procrastination. I think we need to have city commissioners that don't procrastinate. I think my experience and my qualifications allow me to serve on the city commission and work with other city commissioners that are also serious about McAllen's business and don't take rules lightly. And that's the number one question I'm here from my community.
Mr. Califa, thank you for joining us today. You have a minute for closing remarks.
Thank you. This is a critical election in District 4. Don't accept the neglect of the last 18 years. The city of McAllen needs a commissioner who knows how cities operate, knows what is needed to provide the best public safety, fire and police, who knows about transportation and drainage and economic development and fiscal responsibility and accountability by its public servants. McAllen needs a commissioner who can work with other commissioners and community leaders and school trustees. McAllen needs and deserves a commissioner who is qualified, experienced, dedicated, and trustworthy. I will be that commissioner, and I will proudly represent District 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Califa, and we really appreciate you coming today. Early voting for the May 4th election begins on Monday, April 22nd. We have the District 5 candidates, the only other contested election in the city, on Friday. Tomorrow, we will have the McAllen School Board candidates. And with that, thank you for watching. You can view the entire conversation on the monitor.com, and we'll see you tomorrow.
IBC Bank believes in doing more for local communities. Every year, IBC Bank gives back by investing in countless worthwhile endeavors. IBC Bank invests in our youngest community members by presenting Minitropolis, a school program that teaches students leadership and the importance of responsibility. From supporting local nonprofit organizations to helping present school programs, IBC Bank is devoted to making a positive impact in people's lives and contributing to the prosperity of future generations.
This has been a truly exciting year at IBC Bank. Having challenged ourselves to become the community bank of choice that dominates and delivers on the expectation of leadership. And boy, have we delivered.
IBC Bank offers free checking accounts, is open 7 days a week, even on Sunday. With 29 convenient locations throughout Hidalgo County and convenient hours of service, IBC Bank does more for you. IBC Bank takes pride in organizing events that bring together our community leadership. Outings such as Empresarios and RGV Women with Purpose provide a vital opportunity for business owners and community leaders to unite. Together, we explore and educate the public and business community on events and changes that affect our economy. United we stand, and IBC Bank stands with you to help ensure the continued growth and prosperity of our local communities.